Hello, I'm Congressman Ted Lieu, and this is my first Parachute TV appearance exclusive to Periscope. Very excited to be here. I am going to do some live commentary on the Republican debate that I've watched and that we're still watching. I am from Southern California. I'm the 33rd Congressional District. This is my first term. I'm very excited to be in Congress. Please ask me questions and I'll try to answer them. I happen to be president of the freshman Democratic class. I look forward to listening to your questions and just give you some thoughts I have on the GOP debate so far. They've talked for a pretty long time, and I haven't heard them really discuss any of the core issues that matter to Americans. Issues such as jobs. I mean, how many times have you heard them say that single word, jobs? I haven't really heard it yet. I want to know what they're going to do to try to help continue to grow the economy. And maybe one reason they don't talk about it is because President Obama has done a terrific job on the economy. We've had over 65 straight months of job creation. We have enormous growth. If you look at the years from when he first took office to now, we are on a good trajectory, and maybe that's why the GOP debate is ignoring that issue. Instead, what we're hearing are issues such as, well, how do we defund Planned Parenthood? That is really a crazy issue, and even some of the GOP folks who are running for president want to shut down the government in order to do that. That's even crazier, and it's my hope that we get some rationality going on. And watching this debate, it really is fascinating to me. No one there really looks presidential. What I see is a lot of sniping, and happy now to answer questions that you may be asking. Oh, okay. I'm getting a lot of hearts coming up on the right side, so I guess that's pretty good. It's my first time on Parachute TV, so it's exciting to be here. This is supposed to be a debate on foreign policy. That's what Jake Tapper said at the beginning. And we have heard very little on foreign policy. Instead, we heard about undocumented aliens. We've heard Donald Trump sniping against other candidates. We heard other candidates firing back. It really is entertaining, and maybe that's what CNN is trying to go for, an entertaining event. It is very sorry if you actually want to elect a president watching this debate. It makes me sort of wonder how did these people actually get on that stage and engage in really what is nonsensical discussion on a lot of very important issues. I want to hear about climate change. They haven't talked about that. They haven't talked about the environment. They haven't talked about education. So really the issues that affect us on a day-to-day basis, you're not seeing mentioned in the GOP debate. In fact, what they're talking about really are some of these really core issues to their base that really don't affect a lot of Americans. Again, such as defunding Planned Parenthood. And I am a huge supporter of Planned Parenthood. They do a huge amount for women's health. They do a huge amount to educate both men and women. And to defund them would be tragic. And what's just as tragic is shutting down government in order to defund them. One other issue I do want to say, in terms of climate change, and I got a question on that, it is true, it is a global issue, which is why President Obama has now engaged with China. And China and the U.S. are now going to do a major memorandum of understanding to reduce climate change in terms of how we can reduce excess use of fuels, how we can use solar and wind and geothermal, how we can reduce carbon emissions. And you've got two of the leading economies in the world now tackling climate change. That's a good thing, but we need to do our own part here in America. In California, I was proud to have been a co-author of Assembly Bill 32, the strongest climate change law in the nation. And in Congress, my first bill was to reintroduce that law and to make it nationwide. And I think that's how we go forward and really tackle climate change, because if we don't fix it, it is the one issue to me that I believe can kill humanity as a species. Something else about the Republican debate that struck me is you have a lot of folks there who don't have a lot of experience. So you've got Donald Trump, you've got Carly Fiorina, you have Ben, I don't really know his last name, and those folks want to run for president of the United States, having never been an elected official. You can certainly try to do that. It's very difficult, though, because you have a huge responsibility on day one. And for someone who has had no experience in politics to be leader of the free world, to me, that is sort of a pretty big jump. And it's not something that I would have confidence in. And they asked the question early on, would you have confidence with Donald Trump having his hand on the nuclear trigger? No, absolutely not. That would be crazy. And so I hope the American people see that as well. Happy to take any questions, and my understanding is that you can do it on this account or you can do it through Twitter. Wow, my hearts keep increasing on my right side. That's pretty cool. I'm seeing this thing, by the way, on my own screen, so it's fascinating to watch. And very excited to have this app and have Parachute TV. My district has a lot of technology. It has what's called Silicon Beach. We're getting more and more tech industry in, and this is an industry that California and America can compete in. And just very excited to be on this app to be able to do this for the first time. If I could change something on the app, I would have people actually, when they list the questions, have it be a little bit longer, because they sort of, it's like Snapchat. They appear and then disappear. So if I don't catch it immediately, I actually don't see the question. Oh, okay. So people can go ahead and ask questions. They can do it on Periscope. They could do it on Twitter. Something else about climate change. It's hard to talk about climate change in context of this GOP debate because they're not talking about it at all. And so it's important, I think, to really continue to champion issues of climate change because it will eventually kill us if we don't do something about it. Okay. Question about government. It is true that, hang on. Oh, okay. So I have a competitor to Periscope asking me to use their streaming app. So next time I do an interview, I will use that one, and then we'll compare the two. But in terms of this GOP debate, it is very concerning to me that they're not talking about education, about climate change, about the environment, about any of the issues that really affect Americans on a day-to-day basis. And it's my hope that they do talk about those issues. And it's also my hope that we do get some more substance on foreign policy. If you see what they're actually talking about foreign policy, many of them want to do a go-it-alone basis, which is simply to have the United States go do things by ourselves. So if you like the consequences of the last George Bush and Dick Cheney, then you're going to like a lot of these GOP candidates. But if you don't like what they did, if you think it's sort of stupid for the United States to basically shoot first and ask questions later, then you're not going to like most of these candidates. So it is my hope that they do have some more rationality in how they talk about foreign policy. There's actually some very funny comments. I don't know if you guys get to see what I see. Someone just commented that this debate is making people dumber. I agree with that. I also would like to hear more of Dana Bash, by the way. So I'm sitting here, and it's just Jake Tapper talking all the time. I don't quite know why there's even these two other people, Hewitt and Dana Bash. They don't really get to ask questions. I also think it's important if the GOP debate would focus on infrastructure as well. We have this huge issue right now where we're not fixing our roads and highways. That's why I'm a co-author of the America Grows Act, which will reauthorize the Highway Trust Fund for 6 years. And it gets the money by doing what's called closing the corporate loophole inversion. And companies right now are taking advantage of this tax loophole by buying a smaller company or very small company overseas, calling it their headquarters, and then paying taxes in a foreign country at a much lower rate. That is a straight up loophole, and we're going to close that, and that's going to generate a lot of money that we use to help rebuild our infrastructure. Someone asked what my name is again, so it's Congressman Ted Lieu. I am from Southern California. My district goes from Malibu down through Santa Monica to Palos Verdes along the coast. And I also have Beverly Hills, West Los Angeles, and Bel Air. Beautiful district. Hope you come and visit the district. Before this, I was in the California State Senate. Prior to that, I was on the Torrance City Council. I'm currently a reserve officer in the United States Air Force. I served active duty in the 1990s. I've also served in the private sector as well. And again, I'm on Parachute TV, and I am doing this streaming app for the first time. And we're talking about the GOP debate, but really based on the questions, you can ask me anything you want. So someone just asked me a question about the drought. So we are having a huge drought in California. And I was proud to have been a co-author and a big supporter of a water bond that the voters in California passed. That's going to help prepare us for future droughts. We've done a lot to fix the water delivery infrastructure, to increase our water recycling, to increase water conservation. And that is a good thing we did with the water bond. But that's going to take some years to go into effect. what we need to do now is conserve more water, do more recycling, and then make sure that we really get a handle on how we can have our agriculture industry use water more efficiently. And some of you may not know, but in California, 80% of our water use goes to agriculture. So we need to be able to not only conserve water in the cities, but also in our agriculture industry as well. Wanted to say that very excited that Pope Francis is going to come visit the Capitol next week. I also happen to be Catholic, so it's very exciting to me to see, and I look forward to hearing what he's going to say to Congress. He's been an amazing person taking on some very difficult issues, talking about income inequality, about lifting the poor out of poverty, about climate change. I hope he talks about those issues to a Republican-controlled Congress. That would be interesting to watch. And also, I was able to get tickets to many of my constituents who can watch him deliver on televised screens on a West Lawn. So that's pretty exciting that we were able to do that. I also hope I can get more tickets. If I do, we'll do another announcement to see if people want to come and watch the Pope. One other issue I didn't see the GOP debate really talk about are veterans. I'm a veteran myself. I think it's important that we do more on PTSD, that we make sure we do more to take care of our homeless veterans. And I think it's important that we also have how we deliver resources better to veterans in our veterans hospitals. Someone asked me a question about what I think about term limits. I think term limits actually are generally a bad idea. I was in a term limit system in the state of California, and we had, at that time, very short term limits, 6 years in the assembly, and by the time you actually figured out what the issues were and how to fix them, you were termed out. So I think it's important, if you're going to have term limits, at least they need to be longer than just 6 years. So California fixed it, and we went to a 12-year system, and that has been great. I was at the tail end of that system, and you saw with the system being put in. Now California has created more jobs last year than any other state, and it has a surplus in its budget. Some other issues that I know that the Republicans are not going to talk about in this GO debate is how do we increase the civil rights for the LGBT community. I'm a co-author of a law that's going to, actually it's a bill, hopefully it'll become a law, that's going to close the loopholes for many people who are in the LGBT community. It is tremendous what the Supreme Court did in terms of marriage equality, where now in 50 states, everyone can get married and love is love, and you can marry your same-sex partner. But then the next day, you can get fired from your job because the laws don't protect you. And so I'm a co-author of a bill to close loopholes in employment, in housing, in fair credit, in a number of areas so that people who are in the LGBT community are treated the same as anybody else. And for that, I'm going to conclude pretty soon. It's my first experience on Parachute TV, using the Periscope app. I really enjoy it, and if you want to follow me, I am on Twitter. I'm at Rep. Ted Lieu. I also have one that I do as well. It's at Ted Lieu. I used to, by the way, also have a MySpace account, but that sort of scared me. It got scary, so I killed that. But I do have Facebook, so you can follow me there as well. And with that, I'm going to say thanks for having me on. Thank you, Periscope. Thank you, Parachute TV, for making this possible. Thank you.
Perfect.
15-minute monologue.
15-minute, yeah, it's challenging. Huh?
They weren't really asking questions.